Hi, everybody. Welcome to Humane Voices. Today, we're pulling the curtain back on our own organization just a little bit and on nonprofits in general. It's a little bit of an inside scoop on something that doesn't usually get a whole lot of visibility in the nonprofit world, which is the philanthropic side of our work. At our organization specifically, a lot of, our donors and supporters, they see all the amazing work. They see the animal rescue team out on its calls. They see, the incredible legislative and corporate reform work that we do. But what can be sometimes invisible is the folks who are sort of keeping the lights on and helping all that work happen by raising the money to do that work. The expenses in running a major campaign for animals and doing a major rescue can be really significant, and none of it could happen without our supporters. And so we wanted to bring on my friend and colleague, Kimberly Din, today, our Senior Vice President for Philanthropy at HSUS. Kimberly, we're so excited to have you here.
Thanks so much for inviting me, Carrie. I'm hoping that I am an exciting person for you guys to listen to.
How long have you been with the team at this point? I was trying to remember.
I've been with the Humane Society. I think this fall will be 10 years. So it's been almost a decade that I've been with HSUS.
Congratulations.
So, yeah.
Hooray. So tell us a little bit about, has your role evolved? What are you doing on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. Well, I oversee our philanthropy team. So I've got a team of about 35 people. And we are kind of divvied up by a few different activities. I oversee our business development and corporate relations team, and they work on things like trademark licensing, or if a company wants to do a fundraiser with us. I oversee our major gift team. They work with donors who are interested in giving $10,000 and up gifts. I oversee our planned giving team that works with folks on bequest giving. And then last but not least, I oversee our events team, and our events team executes our annual gala and fundraising event, as well as our Humane Journeys travel program, which takes donors out into the field to get to kind of experience some of our work firsthand.
That's fantastic. So I think that this is so critical. It's like that sort of fundraising side just doesn't get a lot of sort of visibility, but it's the lifeblood of any nonprofit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're the economic engine that propels all of our programmatic work forward. If we don't have effective fundraising, we just won't have the resources to get work done. HSUS is an incredibly effective organization. And, part of that success is, fueled by our fundraising, our ability to sort of deliver the resources that our program teams need to end the cruelest practices.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that almost any nonprofit sort of has this role. I think one of the things I'd be really curious about is, so for successful fundraisers, for you and the people on your team, what are the things that you guys know how to do? How do you sort of create that bridge between the sort of understanding of our work and the desire to sort of support it and the sort of gift? What are the skill set that sort of goes into that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of it is the ability to articulate really complex programmatic work. I have somebody on my team who works to develop, campaign proposals around our priority initiatives and really, take a complex issue like ending dog meat farming in Asia, and distilling that down into here's our pathway and here's how we're gonna do it. And here's the budget and here's the resources that we need to do that.
Yeah.
And finding people who connect with those issues and want to support that work. We work a lot too with, more institutional funders and foundations who are, dedicated to funding specific kind of projects. So we do a lot of sort of networking with those folks and, keeping abreast of what they're interested in and what the trends are out there in terms of funding opportunities and resources. Then for our corporate development work, we're really looking at ways to sort of make it easy for corporations to get involved with the HSUS and support our work. One of the things that we do is we work closely with Chewy on distributing, donated goods and services all around the country to shelters. I think it was $21 million last year in donated goods that, my team helped manage and distribute and work with our program staff to get those out to shelters who could really use them.
That's fantastic. So I'm glad that you mentioned shelters, because one of the things I was really wanted you to talk about a little bit is, I think we experienced this at the Humane Society more broadly, is that there are sort of these issues that bring people into the organization. And then I think sometimes your team does a lot of work to sort of build that sort of understanding and awareness of someone who comes into the organization sort of maybe interested in us because they love their dog, to, looking at the sort of broader expanse of animal protection issues as a whole. And I'm really curious about sort of how do you sort of build that kind of entree interest into a lifetime commitment to the organization and animals?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, most people, how they come to the Humane Society is usually through a companion animal issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I came to the Humane Society.
Yeah, of course.
I adopted a pit bull. I didn't know anything about pit bull. I couldn't even pick a pit bull up out of a lineup if you shown me 10 of them and said, pick the pit bull. But once I adopted, this dog, and I started to kind of learn about things like, breed specific, that didn't come out right, breed specific legislation, and also about just sort of, the challenges with dog fighting, and HSUS is one of the organizations that's really working to sort of shut that down, and, going state by state to tighten those penalties. And that sort of was my personal opening up into this space of like, oh, wow, there's a lot more going on here than adopting out cats and rescuing animals. Right.
Yeah.
And I think for most of the donors who are new to the organization, they tend to come in, on disasters or really big media stories. I would say like the beagle rescue last year,
totally.
Those 3,000 beagles got so much attention. And a lot of people, were first-time donors to HSUS. And then it's, my job to be like, this is great that you guys are really excited about us, rescuing these beagles. But did you know this is, the symptom of one of our bigger priority campaigns, which is to end animal testing. That those beagles, as adorable and cute as they were, they were being bred for, to be sold to laboratories for testing. And, we're working at those root causes. I think, a big difference, what I always tell people about, the Humane Society of the United States and your like local shelter and rescue is, we were formed in the 1950s because there was no organization to focus on those root causes of suffering. Most shelters are in the day-to-day triage of animal suffering. Animals come in, they need care, they need support, they need vetting, we get them adopted and they move them on. But that's, they don't have time then to have a team of lawyers, to be out there, battling the good fight and, blocking bad legislation. They don't have, state directors who are out there looking at ways to push the needle in states that are lagging behind on animal issues. And so, the HSUS fills a really special niche there. We're still work really close in partnership with shelters all around the country, and we need them as partners. When we do have a big rescue, we don't have brick and mortar shelters. We rely on our shelter rescue partners. Once those dogs are ready to go out into their homes, they're the ones who are going to do that work of the adoption. So I think that, once people come in the door, they learn a little bit more about what we're doing. And I think, farm animals is another issue. I think that's increasingly a way that people are coming into the organization, because people are concerned about climate change. They're concerned about their own health and well-being. And so, the idea of thinking about farm animals as sort of sentient beings for a lot of people is new, and how they approach that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's just so true. It's like you come in with this sort of understanding that your dog or cat is a unique individual, and then sort of like the growing of your own sort of understanding that applies to all other animals too. I think, and sort of your team does such a great job of sort of bringing donors in through one door, and then sort of showing them the whole sort of world that exists beyond that. Yeah. I mean, I'm really curious, like, so when you're sort of talking to donors, like, how do you sort of gauge their interests and how they might grow? How do you sort of like pair them with particular events and particular things that you think they might want to support?
Good question. Yeah. Usually, when we're starting to work with a new donor, particularly, somebody who's interested in making a major gift to the organization, is sort of, what's motivating them? What are they, what are they concerned about? What are they worried about? And then kind of tailoring, here's a list of the things that we're working on that kind of align with your values, with where you're going. And so a lot of times somebody will say, it really upsets me to see, pigs in gestation cage, for example. I've seen something on TV about this, what are you doing? And so we'll say, okay, here's different ways that we're working on this issue, and we're working on it globally as well as domestically. And that, we're going state by state. We're also trying to push at the federal level. And so I think, a lot of time donors will latch onto something like, oh, wow, I'm really interested in this thing that you're doing. I love that you guys are working with the universities to drive down meat consumption. That's a phenomenal way. I want to get involved with that. So So it's really a lot of conversation and back and forth about, what sort of motivates them. I would say a lot of people too are just like, I really want to make a large investment in this work. I want to make a general gift to the organization, apply it where you need it the most.
Oh,
And so
God bless those
that's
people.
also really, really
Yeah,
appreciative.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah.
That's always, my best case scenario is when somebody is just like, take it and do what you need to get done. We have a very focused list of priority strategic initiatives that we're working on as an organization. And that's where, we funnel the bulk of our organizational resources towards those. So I think that, making sure donors are aware of those, we were trying to have the most impact possible. Every issue that is an animal issue is an important issue, but we are really trying to focus our weight and our strength and our expertise where we can move the needle for the most amount of animals to eliminate the most amount of suffering in the quickest time possible.
Yeah. I know your team manages a number of events for our organization, like our annual gala, but I was really curious, like one of the things that I think is most exciting and lets donors connect with the work is this work you do with Humane Journeys. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about those and sort of like what they are and how they sort of let donors sort of get a feel for what we're actually doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We started the Humane Journeys travel program about right before COVID. I would say it was about 4 years ago. Yeah, I was trying to think back the exact date. And,
when nobody went anywhere, no one journeyed.
Yeah, and nobody wants to go on a virtual trip anymore. We're all over that. But really, we had this idea. We really wanted to have sort of fun, experiential learning where people get to kind of see hands-on animals as well as some of our really deeply rooted work. And so this year in 2023, we have 3 Humane Journeys coming up. The first one is going to be in March. And we do have, I think, 1 or 2 spots left on that trip. But we're going to be going out on the ice floes off of the coast of Canada and seeing the baby harp seals will be birthing at that time. If you're not familiar with them, they're probably maybe the most cutest thing you've ever seen on the planet. We've done a lot of work over the last decade to really bring down the number of these seals that are usually clubbed to death, for the fur trade through our fur campaign work. And it's really a once in a lifetime opportunity to get out there on the ice floes and get to see them up close and personal.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
A really exciting trip. Yeah.
Kimberly, just before you move on to the other ones, I was really curious, like how, knowing a little bit about the sort of Canada seal hunt, like how do you manage issues like donor safety in a situation where they're going out to see the seals? Because some of that can be a little bit tricky, when like the sealers are not happy to see activists out there, right?
Yeah. Because you're going out by helicopter, you can generally see where there is sealing activity and not sealing activity.
Ah, there you go.
And so you can kind of know where to land safely for that. I will say that sealing activity, because of the work of HSI in Canada in particular, is really at an all-time low. There is no international market right now for the pelts. I think the only place in the world that will allow you to buy and sell a seal pelt is China at the moment. So the industry right now is kind of being propped up a little bit by the Canadian government, but I think it's like a fraction of what it was like a decade ago.
Incredible work has been done on it.
There's I mean, there is still some sealing that goes on, but the level of the massacre is really been pushed to the brink. And it's something that we think, we'll see ending probably in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Climate change is, from a safety perspective, the window in which you can get out on the ice these days is getting narrower and narrower.
It's a whole new threat to the seals,
right?
Yeah,
which is now going to be the next fight to kind of protect these majestic animals, and where are they going to go if they don't have the ice to birth on and to be safe on?
Yeah, that sounds like an incredible trip. So where else are you guys going this year?
So our second Humane Journey this year is going to be in April to Black Beauty Ranch. This is HSUS's sort of flagship sanctuary, and you probably know better than me. How many different species of animals do we have?
Oh my gosh, I feel like it's at least 30 different species, and I know something like around 650 animals. Just an incredible space.
It's incredible. I mean, we have and most of the animals at Black Beauty Ranch, they all come from cruelty. They're all rescued animals, and we have everything from farm animals to exotic game stock to tigers. unfortunately, tiger breeding in the U.S. is, a little bit of a phenomenon. We just passed the big cat safety
Yay.
act at the end of
Yeah.
the year, so hopefully the pipeline of tigers coming into the ranch will go down. But at
Right.
least once a year, we get a call somewhere, someplace in the U.S. that there's, a baby tiger or an adult tiger,
It's
wandering
crazy.
Houston or something like that. And so
Yeah.
we also have a lot of small monkeys that come out of research facilities.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the areas that we're seeing an increasing demand is, to retire these animals out of animal testing. We also have several roadside zoos that have shut down. So we
Mm-hmm.
have everything from kangaroos to sulcata tortoises. It's like a Noah's Ark of rescue animals. So it's a phenomenal trip. The trip starts in Dallas and goes out, and you get to spend a whole day at the ranch.
Mm.
There is painting with the pigs, which is always kind of fun, and some other enrichment activities. You get to help make puzzles and things for the primates that like to kind of dismantle stuff like that. And
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
That's
so
great.
it's a super special trip, and it's really fun trip. Black Beauty isn't some place that you can just go like
Mm-hmm.
on your own.
Yeah.
It is a sanctuary, so it's really by invite only or special event only that you get to go and visit the ranch.
Right, right. Because the priority at the sanctuary is to really make sure that these animals have a comfortable and safe life, and they're not being pestered by people, so
Right,
that
it's not a
the
zoo.
interactions with
Yeah.
them are really managed. Yeah. So when you're doing paint with the pigs, like is that just you're painting around pigs? You're
No,
like,
the
are the
pigs,
pigs
and you
out?
paint a picture together. So
Oh my God.
it's an enrichment activity for them. And it involves a lot of paint and paper and grapes. And
Oh my God, I love this. I'm
but
imagining Bob Ross here, like
yeah,
with a pig,
actually,
doing the work with him.
um,
Ah,
this is a pig painting that was done
fantastic.
at a trip last year.
I see sort of shades of early Jackson Pollock here.
Yeah,
I mean, this thing
I
was
know. I'm not
clearly
sure what direction we were supposed to be going with this, but
you need to ask the artist, clearly. So after BBR, what's the last trip this year?
well, our last trip of the year is a really, really special trip. And we are going to be going to South Africa, working with
Mm,
Humane Society International South Africa team. And we're going to be going out to a private game reserve for a week. And staying in sort of luxury tents out there. But
hmm
the really cool thing is that you're going to get to go out with our wildlife biologists, and they're going to be darting elephants for PZP. And PZP is a birth control drug.
hmm
This particular wildlife preserve has too many elephants on it, and
hmm
they're trying to avoid conflicts with neighboring farming communities and that by sort of lowering the birth rate in a really humane way, as
Yeah.
opposed to culling or trying to move the elephants from one place to another. And so participants are going to get to be there while they're darting them, and they are going to collar an elephant. So they're actually going to get to be there when an elephant is tranquilized. They're going to get to see how we
Wow.
put the collar on. Yeah, it's going to be really, really special. Like, this isn't the kind of thing you would get to see on a regular safari.
Yeah.
So we're super excited about that. And it's a week-long trip. We're also going to visit in Johannesburg, a shelter and
Mm.
a facility and access to care program that
Oh, that's
we're
great.
funding down there as well. So you'll get to do a little bit of companion animal work in the city, but
hmm
then bulk of the time will be spent out on the reserve.
Fantastic. Wow. So, I mean, that sounds like such an amazing trip and such an incredible exposure to our work and to animals that most people will never get to interact with. It's really fantastic. So, one of the elements of your work is around what's typically called planned giving. I'm really curious about, so what is what does that actually mean? Like planned giving, I mean, it seems like it's kind of an amorphous term, and I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about sort of how you sort of build those relationships to sort of develop planned giving.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, planned giving is probably for most people a bequest gift is the most important like charitable gift they're going to make ever in your life. It's
hmm
the ultimate gift that you're going to give, and usually it is the most significant gift that anybody is going to give. And so it's a very important relationship. I have a team that works with donors who are interested in leaving a bequest to the
hmm
Humane Society of the United States or to Humane Society International. And we meet with them, we work with them, we keep them abreast and steward them on, the areas that they're interested in. But the really kind of cool thing about it is you don't have to be a billionaire to leave a bequest or a planned gift. The majority of the bequests that we get just come from regular donors, people who are giving $50 a year or $100 a year, but have just been really, really committed to the cause and the mission of the Humane Society. And so on average, a bequest gift is about $30,000. It's a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
And it is our single largest source of unrestricted revenue for the Humane Society of the United States. And it's phenomenal. A lot of our bequest donors are our little ambassadors in many ways. Many of them do videos for us and promos, and they act as our spokespeople, and they're out talking to other people about it. And so it's really, really fun to partner with them who are really, really passionate about this work, about what they're going to do and how, they want their legacy to be cemented.
Yeah, I mean, that must just take an enormous amount of sort of relationship building with folks. I mean, you must really get to know these people and their passions and their whole lives. I mean, I know I've talked with some of your team now and then, and it's very frequent when I'm talking to one of your folks and they've just been, visiting with one of your donors and so that they can tell me about their family and their pets and, like, how do you guys go about sort of building that relationship?
Yeah, our planned giving team, they work geographically. They're scattered around the United States, and they work with a network of donors in their region. And most of them visit with them annually. We also host a lot of like webinars and try to connect them with their state directors if they're interested in getting involved at the state level. It's a lot of just a lot of communication back and forth about what people want to do. I will say that it's bittersweet sometimes. Just this week, we got notification of a bequest that was coming into the organization. And it was a long-term donor that several people on my team knew and had worked with over the years and had actually gone out and volunteered. They were from Texas at Black Beauty Ranch. And so some of the ranch staff were like, oh, I knew them back in the day.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so sometimes it's a little hard, you get to know people. But then at the other time, I'm like, how cool is it that, we all know who they are and we all know what they're, committing their legacy to, and that they're a part of that with us.
Yeah, that's incredible. Wow. Oh man, that must be just really emotional for you and your team sometimes after developing these relationships
definitely,
for years.
definitely.
Yeah.
And then sometimes there's real surprises. There's a very quiet donor who you've worked with. They've never really said anything and, about the size of their estate or anything. And then, once they pass, a short time later, you'll find out, oh, wow, they're leaving, like a $5 million gift.
Yeah, that's incredible.
You're just floored, the gratitude that we have for people who are really, really, cemented in, supporting the work of the organization is pretty undeniable.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's so amazing. I mean, that must be it seems so it's sad on one hand that you don't get to say thank you to those people. I mean, but I mean their work is like, I mean, the way that it's empowering us to do what we're doing. I mean, in a way, it's sort of like a living thank you. It's incredible. Yeah.
And a lot of times we will know their children or we'll know other people in their family members, so we usually do have a little bit of continuity with folks, but it's definitely bittersweet.
Yeah. So I know what we do here, but how does what we do here at the Humane Society family of organizations, like, is this sort of similar across multiple other nonprofits? I mean, I assume that this sort of planned giving and a lot of the sort of strategies we do sort of play out at universities and other NGOs.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we're doing anything that's particularly unique in the sector. I think our Humane Journeys program is probably really unique. I don't see, I think a few other organizations like WWF, or some of the wildlife organizations have programs like that. I think what is really kind of cool about our work is, it's global in nature. And so it's really, if you care about farm animals anywhere in the world, we're tackling that, whether it's Latin America, whether it's Asia, whether it's Africa, whether it's here in the United States, that, we're not just solving problems here in the US and then letting, things get pushed off to the border to other places, that we're really kind of working around the globe to bring all that back together.
Yeah. Do you find the same is true in terms of actual the support we generate? Like, are our donors global as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And more increasingly more so. I would say that we do raise a fair amount of money for our global work in the United States, but
Yeah.
increasingly we're adding team in other parts of the world to focus on fundraising. Europe and the UK, we now have fundraising teams there. We have fundraising staff in Korea and Canada. And so, it's definitely building and growing. I think what's really interesting is that sort of how you talk to donors and how you attract people to the movement can vary culture to culture and language to language. And so that's why it's really important to have local people, local fundraisers,
Yeah, of course.
who know what's going on the ground, and and understand sort of the cultural implications of even how we phrase things. It doesn't always translate well from one
Right.
language to another.
Yeah.
So it's great, and it's so much fun to have colleagues all around the world. I'm actually bringing all of my philanthropy staff to the ranch in 2 weeks for our first team retreat in 3 years because of COVID.
Fantastic.
There's a
Wow.
lot of staff I've never met face to face. We've been in that Zoom space, so I'm really, really excited, and I want them to be inspired and excited by visiting the ranch as well.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it sounds, I mean, this is probably a silly question, but it sounds like your job sounds amazing, because not only do you get to sort of touch all the elements of our work, but you get to meet so many different kinds of people all over the place.
Absolutely. I think I have the best job at the HSUS. I know. Not that your job isn't great, Carrie.
Pick a day and ask me that question.
Yeah. No, I even tell our CEO that, Kitty, my job is better than yours. But no, what I absolutely love about my job is just that not only do I get to work with all these external donors and get really energized by their excitement and their passion on the issues, but I also get to work with all the different programs across the globe. I know the folks who work on farm animals in Mexico, and I know the folks who work on farm animals in India, and I work with them to pull together big proposals. And so I get to sort of really interact, and I basically feed off of their passion for the work that they're
Of
doing.
course.
So
Yeah.
I love that. I like to work with the wildlife team, and so I'm never bored. I'm never kind of one subject all the time, and I like to be challenged, and I get to learn about a lot of issues. I have a surprisingly in-depth knowledge of things that I would never think that I would know.
That's great.
The other day we were talking about lead and ammunition, and it was with somebody, and they were like, how do you know this? And I was like, well, because it impacts wildlife, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And so, there's, and hunting issues and things like that. So it's really, I get to learn a lot from a lot of different experts across the organization.
That's fantastic. So, Kimberly, this is so great. I mean, if there's anything that our listeners are curious about, if they want to reach out to your team, or if they want to learn anything more about Humane Journeys, like, what's the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, if you go to our website, humanesociety.org/humane journeys, there is a landing page there where you can learn all about the 3 humane journeys. And the philanthropy team, if you are interested in anything from donating a vehicle to donating goods and services, if you go online, there's a ways to give section of our website that will connect you to the various teams in my department. If you're interested in planned giving, that's a portal, will take you right to somebody to help you with that. So you can pretty much find out any of the information that you would need to connect with us on the website.
That's great. And you guys work globally, right? So if they reach out to you, they can, and they're interested in funding some of HSI's work, they can
absolutely. Yeah.
That's great. Okay. Kimberly, thank you so much for your time today. This has been really delightful. I am so excited to hear about how the Humane Journeys go. Hopefully we'll get to see some photographs, and I can't wait to see what an elephant collar looks like.
I know, how big
tag,
is the collar
like,
to go around an elephant?
or like,
yeah. Well, so they can track them, right? They want to track movement. They're looking to see if PZP impacts behavior in any way,
of course.
All of that kind of stuff. So it's kind of fun, exciting data that we'll get out of it.
Yeah, really exciting to see. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. This has been Kimberly Din, our SVP of Philanthropy here at the Humane Society. We appreciate your time. And as always, check out our work on humanesociety.org. We'll see you next time on Humane Voices. Bye, everyone.
Bye.